Hello and welcome to the English 12 podcast on Gilgamesh. Today I am joined by Patrick Taylor, Harry Bartelos, and Felix Dew to discuss the history and relevance of the Epic of Gilgamesh in our classrooms today. A quick overview. The Epic of Gilgamesh is a story from ancient Mesopotamia, regarded as the earliest surviving piece of literature that we have. It was written around 2100 to 1400 BCE. The original author is unknown, and the story is made of 5 Sumerian poems about Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk. Today we are trying to determine the modern relevance of Gilgamesh in the classroom and whether we should still be teaching it or find another substitute. To help us determine this question, we have an interview with one of AHA's English teachers, Mr. Yu, following a brief summary of the Epic of Gilgamesh by Patrick Taylor.
The story of Gilgamesh that we read in English class starts with Gilgamesh, who is 1/3 god and 2/3 human, and Enkidu, who is kind of part animal, like half animal, half human, and he comes from the Cedar Forest. They are fighting each other in the beginning, and the fight is very evenly matched, so they decide to stop the fight and become friends with each other. After that, one day Enkidu and Gilgamesh are really bored and decide to go kill Humbaba, who lives in the Cedar Forest. They prepare to do this by praying to gods and getting other people like Gilgamesh's mom to pray for them. Once they're in the forest, they provoke Humbaba by destroying some of the trees, and once they are fighting Humbaba, they kill him. After that, they go back to Uruk, where the goddess Ishtar appears, and she goes up to Gilgamesh and says she wants to be married to him after he had killed Humbaba. Gilgamesh refuses her offer, and then Enkidu for some reason just decides to disrespect Ishtar. So in return, Ishtar decides to kill Enkidu. After Enkidu's death, Gilgamesh is very depressed, and he's realizing that he can die, and he doesn't want to grow old and die. So he goes on a journey to get back Enkidu and to find the elixir that'll keep him alive forever. Gilgamesh was able to get the elixir, but after he got it, he was returning back to Uruk, and he decided to take a bath, and during this bath, he gets the elixir stolen from him by a snake. Gilgamesh realizes after this that he's always going to be mortal, which is his fatal flaw, is his morality and his humanity.
Okay. I'm with Mr. Yu right now, and he will be answering 4-ish questions about Gilgamesh. Mr. Yu, why is the story of Gilgamesh an important story for people in high school to read, and what kind of knowledge or lesson is learned from the reader when reading this book?
I think Gilgamesh is good for students to read because of the way it sets up the process of the hero and the hero's journey, and kind of being one of those original texts that lays out those ideas that you can pick up in other texts that you read in the rest of the curriculum.
All right. And then, is there any reason that the story of Gilgamesh should not be read by high school students, if there is any at all? And do you think that another story would fit better into the curriculum other than Gilgamesh?
I think Gilgamesh can be a little boring just because it's very ancient in the way that it addresses its concerns. I think the ideas are solid. I think there could be different versions of Gilgamesh, or perhaps even looking at updated translations of Gilgamesh that might be more interesting. But as an original text, it's important because it kind of introduces the ideas, even if they're not the most contemporary.
Uh-huh. And then, would you say that the story of Gilgamesh promotes its theme of finding the meaning of life well, or could it have been better?
I think it does an okay job at it.
Yeah.
I mean, again, if it's not the most relatable text, it's hard to maybe pick out what you're trying to get from it. But at the same time, I think it does set up that question in ways that you can answer with other texts as well. So I think it's a kind of a good original idea to start thinking about.
And then finally, in your personal opinion, do you think the story of Gilgamesh in total is a good story? Oh, wait, is this the question that you were
No,
talking
this one's
about?
fine. Yeah, we can do this one.
Okay. In your personal opinion, do you think that the story of Gilgamesh in total is a good story, while taking into consideration that it is one of the oldest forms of literature in the world?
I think it is a good story. I think, though, as you see, like, it's important to look at it in relationship to other stories that deal with some of the same issues in different ways. But I think as, like, one of the original forms of literature, it's important to kind of be aware of it and see how it sets the stage for a lot of things that come later. But I don't think it's, like, the only thing you should look at.
Yeah. All right. And that should be all good.
All right.
So in conclusion, Mr. Yu thinks Gilgamesh is good for students to read. It's about heroes and heroes' journey. The original text is a little boring, but the ideas are solid. It also sets the stage for a lot of other literature that was published later. Mr. Yu gives a positive feedback to this book, and thanks Mr. Yu for participating in our interview.
And that concludes our Gilgamesh podcast. I want to thank you all for listening and have a great day.